today we're going to be talking about the elements of good practice, which I already made a video on, but I'm going to go into it in a little more detail as well as answer some questions from the class. So one of the biggest keys of great practice is consistency. That's probably the biggest thing that a lot of students run into, is that they practice, but they practice like, to 2 hours before the lesson, or they practice, a bunch of hours, like a couple days before the lesson. And even though that sounds good, practicing for a couple hours, oh, that has to be good. It's not necessarily the best. It's definitely not optimal. What you need to do is it's way better to practice a little bit every day. And what I mean by a little bit is it depends on the level you are. We'll talk about the exact times coming down into here. But basically, you want to make sure that you're not only spending time all at once, but you're spending consistent time every day. So, maybe if you're just starting out 15 minutes to half hour, and then longer if you need to. Let's go to my second point here. Oh, the one thing, actually, I want to go back to the first point, is that if you are consistent about your practice, it really helps you retain information a lot better, because I don't know if you've ever crammed for a test. They always say cram, got to cram for the test. You don't really retain a lot of information from that. And I think that's a common thing people talk about when they talk about cramming for a test, is that you can only really do so well. So how do you do better at the test than cramming all at once the night before? Well, how about studying, 20 minutes every night for a month leading up to the test? You'll do way better than if you study hours, or in fact, if you lose sleep the night before your test. You just won't perform nearly as well, and your memory will not be nearly as good. So your long-term memory, as the days and weeks go by, as you do something a little bit each day, it gets worked into your long-term memory. Your long-term memory is far superior than your short-term memory at remembering things. So that's why it's best to practice a little bit over a long period of time rather than practicing a lot all at once. Now, don't get me wrong, if you're a professional musician, you'll practice a little bit every day. In fact, you'll probably practice a lot every day. And then there will be times, even still, just because it's so difficult to get the pieces ready, that you'll also have to practice a lot the day before. But never, one of the things that's not written down here is don't skimp out on sleep. That's like a huge life thing that I like to tell everybody, because a lot of people think they can work through the night and skimp out on sleep and it'll be fine. Like, you can probably get away with that once in a while, but honestly, it's going to affect your health. It's going to affect the way you think, affect the way you feel, and it will have a much more negative effect than positive. So that's just a little 1.5 for you, is getting plenty of sleep. Moving on to point 2 is you want to focus on what you're working on rather. So you want to shut off the TV, you want to shut off your cell phone, or put your cell phone on silent. Of course, you may need it nearby just in case something important is coming through. But yeah, try to limit the amount of distractions. Like if you have a cat, usually probably having the cat in the room. We all know cats, if we have one or two, that they will not let you do anything while they're around. If you're not paying attention to them, they do not like that. So you might want to lock them outside your room. They may meow at you, or just anything. You know what I mean. Just limit the distractions as much as possible, especially the cell phone. I would imagine the cell phone gets a lot of people where they start practicing, go, oh, I got a text message, let me check it, and then you find out that you're texting for the next 12, 18, 24 minutes, and that really eats in your practice time. That also breaks up your concentration. So you can concentrate a lot better is if you really sit down and you work on something without any kind of distraction. So that's really how you facilitate good concentration, is just eliminate those little possibilities that can get you off track. Okay, number 2 still, is set a timer and stick with it. And that will really, especially in the beginning, help you develop a good schedule to your practice. Now, it's probably advisable, especially in the beginning, to practice at the same time every day. I mean, we usually brush our teeth at the same time every day, right? And we usually go to bed around the same time. We might eat around the same time. So try to be regular about your practice and consistent. Okay, so number 3 is change things up with a little bit of variety. So even though I say, yeah, you need a schedule and you need to stick with it, you need to limit distractions, well, you should do that anyway. This point doesn't override that point. But really, you need to change things up every once in a while, and you can change things up a few ways. You can practice at a different time. Ooh, really fancy. Or you can practice a different song than the one you're currently working on. I really suggest that when you're working on songs, you have like a list of maybe 2 to 5 songs that you're learning. I would never try to learn more than 5, only because, as you know, you can spread yourself too thin. So if you're learning more pieces, you know that you'll have less energy and time to put into each of them, the energy and time that those pieces and songs deserve. So less songs and doing them well is a lot better. But every once in a while, even though you're working on a set of songs, just take a day and play some jazz or play something totally different, a song from a movie you like, a song from a video game you like. Just change it up. It can be easier than what you're working on or harder. But anything to just maybe once a month or twice a month, just pick one of your practice days and do something wild. Just do something totally different. Learn something new, and then just change it up. And then you'll be surprised that when you come back to practicing your normal routine, your 4 or 5 videos, 2 to 5 videos, I guess I said originally, you'll come at them with a lot more energy and a lot more enthusiasm because you won't feel burnt out from working on them all the time. One thing that I always came across when I was in college, I went to Westchester School of Music, as I say in a lot of my videos. But I would practice things for so long because you really had to. You had to get so many songs ready by the end of the semester. I would be practicing so much on these songs, and they were great songs, don't get me wrong, but even though I really liked the songs, by the end of the semester, after practicing seriously 3 to 4 hours a day, you don't have to do that unless you want to be a professional. I got really tired of the songs towards the end of the semester, and one thing that helped me through it is just take one day. It doesn't seem like it's productive, but it really is. Take one day and just do something totally different. I mean, practice-wise on the piano. You don't have to go snowboarding or ski. That's not what I mean. I just mean something different on the piano. Okay, here's the big thing a lot of people ask me is how much time should you get practicing at the piano? So if you're a beginner, if you're really, really young, like if you're I'm sure everybody here is over probably 6 years old, I would imagine. For little kids, if you have children that are taking lessons, they only may need to practice 10 to 15 minutes because little children have trouble paying attention for long periods of time. In fact, a lot of teenagers also have that, and a lot of adults have that as well. But the younger you are, the greater of a tendency that is. So 15 to 30 minutes is great for a beginner. Maybe for your first couple weeks, start at 15, do like some note reading exercises, practice a few songs, and then work your way up. Then, the next week do 20 minutes, and then do 25, and then 30, and then you could kind of stick at 30 probably for a while and make decent progress if you consider yourself a beginner and you want to stay around that beginner level. Some people are like that. Some people just want to be able to play a few songs for people at Christmas. And you don't really need to be a great piano player to do that. I mean, you can play carols. They're pretty easy to find. You can just type in Jingle Bells Easy Sheet Music in Google, and, you can go to musictheoryfun.net, I think it's called. And they have a lot of easy things to play like that. So it depends on what your goals are as a musician. Not everybody's goal is to become the greatest musician. And that's a great thing because to become a super awesome, world-renowned musician, it takes a lot of work and dedication. More so than not that people aren't willing to do it. It's that we have so many things going on in our lives that can just get us caught up in that. So 15 to 30 minutes for beginners, 30 to 60 for intermediate. So if you're ready to go to that extra length, like if you you play songs for people in the holidays and you're like, I just need to be able to play something a little extra. I want to play Für Elise or Beethoven. Well, Beethoven's Fifth is pretty tough if you're playing the full version, or maybe I could play a toned down version of Beethoven's Fifth, or Ode to Joy. Ode to Joy isn't too bad. Then you might want to put in 30 to 60 minutes. 60 is probably a great point for somebody who is looking to get better. Like if you're really looking to get better, put in the full hour a day, and make that time. Like my professor at college used to always tell me, Pretend like your piano practice is a class that you will get in trouble for if you miss. Like you'll get marks off, you'll get bad grades, you'll get sent to the principals depending on what, how far along you are in school. But just pretend that your piano practice is important, and you will see results from that if you treat it like it's important. So just give me a minute or two. I'm getting a little dry here from talking so much. So I'm going to take a sip water, and then we will get started to the end of the lesson, really. But then we'll talk together and start a conversation about it. So I just want to say hello to Rich. Rich has been around a lot of these live streams. We have 2 Riches tonight, or a Richard and a Rich. And then we have Manny. Manny is awesome. And Rich is back. Okay. Is it okay to take a day off once in a while? I felt burnout and I took a break yesterday, but usually practice for an hour daily. That is a terrific comment. So the answer is yes. So like I was saying a few minutes ago, you may have entered after I said that, to change things up every once in a while. Take a day of your practice and then just do something totally different with your practice. But the same thing goes with just taking a day off. Sometimes it's just better to take a day off. Like, honestly, if you're feeling burnout and you're like, piano's just not fun anymore, especially if you're feeling like it's not fun anymore, you need to relax and just give yourself a breather. And, I don't know if you noticed, Rich, probably when you came back to practicing that next day, you probably were more productive. I mean, it probably depends a lot of, just how you are. But, yeah, taking a day off is certainly great. So let me get a drink. It's really getting dry here. Okay, Richard said, it works for me to take a break here or there. I totally agree. Honestly, practicing every day, all day, I don't know if you practice all day, but, practicing every day, you just need a day off. Like, honestly, something that you love, even the things that you love, every once in a while you need a day off. Like if you have kids, you probably love your kids. But hey, having a day off from your kids, knowing that they're safe, is probably a perfect thing every once in a while. You're welcome, Rich. And then Richard says, I play drums every day, but sometimes I just cannot seem to be able to play anything. Do you mean because you're burnt out, or you have trouble concentrating, or are you just like saying that every once in a while you'll have an off day where you just don't think is good? I know I have those. Tonight is one of them. When I first started tonight, I had trouble getting the words out, even though I taught earlier today already. Maybe I'm getting a little tired, who knows, but I get that. Scales are making me sick. Yes, they make a lot of people sick. To be honest, I don't want to spin it in a bad way that scales are negative. Scales will help you immensely. But yeah, practicing scales can be tiresome. So after you learn a bunch of scales, you might just need to like chill for a while on the scales. Maybe just take a week off from scales and just practice your songs. I mean, that won't kill you, and you'll probably still remember all your scales, the week later. What you don't want to do, though, ever, is take months at a time off from playing the piano, or months at a time off from a certain thing on playing the piano. Now, if you do, don't let that discourage you. Don't say, oh, it took off 2 months because I just had to, I was sick, or, I had to take care of my family, so I can't get back into it because it's too hard. Don't get that thought in your mind, but just know that, like, if you can avoid taking super long breaks, I would do that. But, like, if you have to go on vacation to the Caribbean or something, or somewhere for a week, do that. You'd be surprised. You'll come back and you'll probably be able to play better than when you left, so long as it's only a week and not like 50 weeks. Okay, a lot of people are sharing. I love this. Manny says, I forgot to tell you about the jazz concert, and while I was playing I wasn't nervous at all. It was a success. That's amazing, Manny, because I know we were working on that and we were talking about that together, and we were talking about strategies on how to get over that. So that's amazing to hear. I'm really glad to hear it. Sorry I didn't have a live stream last week to talk to you, but like I said, check out lessonsontheweb.com/community for that live stream schedule. I think I scheduled out the next 2-3 months. It's almost every Friday and Sunday, but you need to check because every once in a while I'll take a week off. Hey, just what we're talking about. You need to take a week off every once in a while. Okay, let me get back. Yep. Sometimes I just need a break. Yeah, exactly, Richard, exactly. Also, let's see, Manny, I also found the key to find a minor scale and harmonic scale and melodic scales. Okay, terrific, terrific. We'll either talk about that tonight or we will, talk about that at one of our other meetings, but that's great. Maybe if I do questions at the end, which I will, I'll have you share that, your piece of advice for all of us. Okay, major and minor chords. Let's see. Oh, okay. So, I apologize if I mess up your name. Arvind, if that is correct, says, I have been playing major and minor for a month now. I play the same every day. Want it to become second nature to me. That's a great point because when you're first learning, you will have to practice these things every day. And, I get that from students a lot. Like, I'll be practicing chords and I'll be practicing... reading music, and they'll be like, oh, do we have to do this again? I already know how to read music. And it's like, yeah, but you don't know it fast enough. You don't know it like the back of your hand. With this stuff, like with music, you need to understand all of, or a lot of the early concepts. Not only do you need to understand them, you need to know them. Like, you need to just, like, you can be having the worst day of your life, and you would still remember the second space of the treble clef, which of course is an A. But you need to know the basics of music, like that 2 + 2 = 4, or 2 × 2 equals 4, or 4 × 4 equals 16. You just need to have those things, memorized in your brain, so that they're, right there. Okay, I got a lot of things here. Okay, I meant major and minor chords. What's next for me? So, Arvind, to go over your question, scales. Like, if you are not familiar with your major scales, start on those. Try learning a scale a week for the next, well, it would take 12 weeks since there's, 11 really. Excuse me. 11 major scales, so that would take you a while. But I would try that if you haven't already. Yes, nice job, Manny. I agree, Rich. What is everybody's level? I am a professional. I don't know. I'm honestly not what you would call a concert level pianist. I may have been at one time because I used to play in concerts in college. And I'm probably still just as good. The only problem with my piano playing now is when I practice and I play for my students, and I practice things my students are learning. So I'm not really constantly memorizing tons of music to play on stage. So I'd say my level overall is about the same, but I wouldn't consider myself a concert level pianist, at least not anymore. I would consider myself a professional piano teacher, though. Less than beginner. That's okay, Richard. Everybody has to start somewhere. I was less than beginner once as well. Even when I started teaching, over 5 years ago, I had taken piano lessons forever, and like I said, I was playing in all these concerts at college, but I was still a newbie to really teaching people, at least on a large scale. I mean, we kind of taught each other, and picked each other's playing apart when we were in school, like in a good way, and gave each other advice. That really helped me become a good teacher. But yeah, there will always be a point in your life where you feel like a beginner. So the perfect example is you go from high school to college, or you go from middle school to high school, same thing. You get at the end of high school and you feel so awesome. You feel like you're so tough. I don't know if you feel like you're tough, but you feel like, you've reached the highest you can at that level. And then what's funny is you get to high school, end of high school, and you look at the freshmen and you're like, oh, those freshmen, they're so little and they're just beginning or whatever. And then you go to college, and what's funny is you just go from being a senior in high school to being a freshman in college. And then all of a sudden, you're a beginner again, even though you felt on top of the world just a few months before. Then everybody is calling you the beginner, or the lightweight or whatever. That's just my experience. Let's see. Okay, conversation between Manny and Rich, of course. Okay, let's see. That's interesting. Yeah, for anybody who wants to know, Manny is part of the jazz band. I think high school, right? 17? Yeah, I wanted to produce my own song, so learning how to play the piano would help me a lot. Yeah, I agree, Richard. Playing the piano is probably the most versatile instrument out there, especially when it comes to playing songs. So Let me show you an example. Now, to keep this in mind, I'm going to be teaching this from a perspective of somebody who knows a lot already. So if you want to really learn how to like write songs and things like that, both my website and my YouTube channel can help a lot. I have a playlist in my YouTube channel called the Music Theory playlist. Number 5 is enjoy yourself. So I kind of talked about this earlier with taking a break. If you're not enjoying yourself, you need to like kind of at least change the way you're practicing. If you have a teacher and you don't like your teacher, you probably should get a new teacher and just try the new teacher out to see if they can reignite your interest. Sometimes, I talked about this in other videos, the last live stream I think, was that sometimes you just have a teacher personality mismatch, and it's not that they're a terrible teacher, and it's not that you're a terrible student, it's just that it doesn't really line up and you need a new teacher. But, if you're feeling bored, whether you're learning on your own or learning with a teacher, you got to make some kind of change. So maybe you should take a little time off. But just enjoy yourself. Like, play songs that you want to play. Now, keep in mind, when you first start playing, you're going to have to play a lot of songs you don't really want to play. Like a lot of really rudimentary, easy songs, but those will get you to your goal of the songs you really want to play. So, enjoying yourself is probably one, even though it's 2 words, exclamation point, and then it's probably one of the most important points here. Okay, yeah, Rich, let's see, why is it? Okay, great. Oh, here we go. Okay, now we're back to where we should be. Okay, I wish I could afford a piano teacher if it wasn't like people like Tim. Yeah, thank you, Rich. That's a very nice comment. That's one of the reasons I created Lessons on the Web, is to, the YouTube channel is really to offer a basic to intermediate level piano and music education, really to people all around the world, and a free one at that with YouTube. And my website kind of takes that further with more advanced stuff. Of course, that costs, a little bit of money. But really, the whole goal of Lessons on the Web is to help people like you who don't have the opportunity to learn music. So there's a lot of people I've met or I talked to online where they live in Africa and they live in Australia and things. And while there could be piano teachers there, they just can't find any. So, my website and my YouTube is really one of the main things they get lessons from, just like you, Rich. So thank you so much for saying that. Same here. Thank you, Richard, as well. Yeah, YouTube is great. There's a lot of decent channels. Liper is okay. He used to make videos like years ago. He's like one of the first ones. And then there's a few others that are okay. There's some that are pretty gimmicky. Like anybody that kind of tells you that there's a super shortcut. Oh, I have the super shortcut to playing piano, and if I tell you in 2 minutes, you'll just be an expert forever. That person is being a little bit disingenuous with you, because such a thing does not quite exist. I mean, there are like different ways of explaining things that might make it a little easier, but they have limitations. So if I teach you how to play just using numbers, that has a lot of limits, because as you know, a lot of music is written down in terms of music. So I'm not saying those people are like con artists or anything. I'm just saying that there's always like a side to it that they're not talking about when they talk about secret shortcuts and learn piano in 2 seconds. It just can't happen. It takes time, it takes effort, but it's all that much more rewarding. If anybody could pick up the piano and play it perfectly, it's weird. I don't think anybody would play piano because it'd be so bored. I mean, maybe they would, but I really don't think so. I think one of the great things about piano is putting the effort in and seeing it through. That's like anything in life. And getting through it and being like, I did it and I really, really worked through it. All right, everybody, this has been Tim from Lessons on the Web. Thank you so much for watching. Remember to give this video a thumbs up if you learned something, and subscribe because more terrific lessons are, of course, on the way. And if you subscribed and did all that stuff already, like the video, yada yada, head over to my website, lessonsontheweb.com, where you can learn much, much more about playing the piano, music theory, and all kinds of good stuff. So this has been Tim from Lessons on the Web, and have a great one, and I'll see you for the next video.